Back to the Culture Call on Praise 93.3 with L. Spencer Smith. Our desire is to reach and empower the community by discussing a cross-section of relevant topics from various perspectives that are essential to its growth and interpersonal connections. Be sure to save our call-in number, 205-752-4800. Be sure to install the free Praise 93.3 app so you can send L. Spencer Smith a message or topic idea. Search for WTSK in your app store.
Great morning. You know what time it is. That's right. It's time for your favorite talk show, The Culture Call, with yours truly, Bishop L. Spencer Smith, right here on Praise 93.3, 790 WTSK. It is always the place where Tuscaloosa meets the world. Absolutely. And guess what? For the next 2 hours from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., we're going to be talking a little bit about everything from society to sports, education to economics, from religion to relationships. And as always, we are here to create a safe space. That's right, a safe space to have empowering, provocative, and yes, can't get around it, sometimes controversial conversations. And guess what? We can be right here together. Call in and chat it up with me as we learn together right here on the Culture Call. That's right. Number one, shout out. Y'all know how we start off. Shout out number one. Welcome to all of our new listeners. Yeah, to the CC family. I'm telling you, we are so glad and elated that you have joined us this morning. There is so many things, great things going on. And I'm telling you, on the Culture Call, and I am grateful to have you here. So if you're at work, at your cubicle, maybe you're driving through the city, or maybe you're on vacation. Yeah, you're on vacation. Nonetheless, I am glad that you are here with us. Snuggle in. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful day of great conversation. Okay, good. Shout out number two to all of my faithful, committed listeners. Hey, thank you so very much from the bottom of a grateful heart. I am so pleased and elated that you are here with me over a year, and we've been number one, and I am grateful. We could definitely not have done that without you. So, hey, tell everybody to tune in at 10 a.m. on to the Culture Call. I promise you, continue. Let's grow. All over West Alabama, all over the state, all over the country. I'm telling you, we can do it. Thank you. And shout out, last but not least, shout out number three to the inimitable, the anointed, the gifted, the highly intelligent Brother Jay. I am telling you, God could not have brought a greater man into my life, and I am so grateful for him. He keeps us moving and keeps us stirring, beginning at 5 a.m. in the morning, all the way to passing me this hot baton every day. And I am glad and grateful for his wisdom, for his insight, for his leadership. I'm telling you, he is a treasure here at 790 WTSK and Praise 93.3 FM. So very, very glad and grateful for him. Listen, if you haven't done it already, go to your Apple device or your Android device. Go to that application store, the App Store, and download Praise 93.3 app. Free 99. Doesn't cost you a thing. Go ahead and do that, and you can hear us all around the world, all around the country. Guess what? Doesn't matter what you're doing. I just want to make sure that you're able to hear us, while you're at work, while you're at play. I'm telling you, it's some great, wonderful programming that we have on our station. And guess what? You don't want to miss it. Always giving you weather, events, current happenings, whatever it is, that app can do it for you. Absolutely. If you got Facebook, Instagram, all these other things, Twitter, you definitely need our app, Praise 93.3. Hey, you can hear us from Topeka, Kansas. You can hear us from Little Rock, Arkansas, Dallas, Texas, or right here in the beautiful city of Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Mobile, Montgomery, Huntsville, Gordo, Utah, Reform, Boligi. Hey, you can hear us. Demopolis, you can hear us. I am glad and grateful that you can hear us on that app. So go ahead and get that. Also, you can send me your public service announcements and events to culturecall.praise@gmail.com, culturecall.praise@gmail.com, and give me an opportunity to let everybody know the awesome things that you're doing at your church, your organization, your sorority, fraternity, whether you're an artist getting ready to have a concert, or whether you're a pastor getting ready to run a revival. Does not matter. Send those into me. Send it into me. Listen, save this number, 205-752-4800, 205-752-4800, and call into the show and let's chat it up. Guess what? The app also has a chat feature. If you can't give me a call, you can definitely send me what you want to talk about on that app. I look forward to seeing it every day, and you all have been such a blessing to me. I definitely want to hear from you. Follow me on Facebook right now. I know you got your phone in your hand. Yeah, go to the Culture Call. Just press the like button. Yeah, and you will be following me on Facebook. And I'm telling you, so many of you have followed me within the week. Within last week, it was amazing. So thank you so much for following us on Facebook. And so, hey, last but not least, I missed the past broadcast. No problem. Go to Apple Podcast, and there you can find us, Culture Call, and there, leave the out, Culture Call. You'll see my face there, and you can listen to all of our past broadcasts, and it will be a blessing. I'm telling you, it will be a blessing to you. So sit back, relax, grab you some coffee or some tea, and listen. I'm telling you, you know how we do it, coffee, whether it's Maxwell House or Starbucks, whether it's tea, chamomile, or green tea. Absolutely. If you don't like coffee or tea, I'll tell you what you can do. Definitely get you some alkaline water, and you can make sure alkaline or spring water. Let me put it like that. And you can get down into that cellular level, shake those cells up, and wake up and say, let's get into the culture. Listen, we have a great show today, and I am super, super excited about what we're going to be talking about today on the air. I'm going to have some members from the school board, the Board of Education, to come in to talk about this increase in the ad valorem taxes and all of those different kinds of things, and school systems and all that. And so we're going to ask some provocative questions. We want to make sure that we're able to, bring clarity to really what is going on. And I think the only way that we can get clarity is if we can communicate. Don't you agree? Absolutely. I believe that if we do that, then we can go forward and we can make a right decision. Come, I believe it's September 24th. We can make the right decision. I'm definitely not telling anybody what decision to make, but definitely we need to have the appropriate information in order to do that. I am a big proponent of education. I am a big proponent of education. And one of the things that's so very important to me is not just that our children get taught and instructed on the things that will help them pass tests or matriculate from grade to grade and give them a greater level of decision. But I am most interested in empowerment. And empowerment is a futuristic word, right? It's a forward-thinking word. Empowerment is. Because nobody empowers themselves to go back to the past. Number one, because it is virtually impossible. But number two, and most importantly, it is something that I believe that we need to understand, that if we don't empower our children to understand what their place is in the future, that literally the song that Whitney Houston sings rings in my mind as I'm talking to you now. I believe the children are the future. Well, we have to begin to act like that, right? And it's that empowerment. And I know some people are of the ilk, well, empowerment comes through increased finances to our school systems. Some believe that empowerment is being able to have the right instructional content that speaks toward future access and opportunity. And then some believe that simply that empowerment means putting the right people in the classroom, right? That you've got to get the right teachers and right administrators, et cetera. You've got to be able to do that. And so if we don't have a conversation in Tuscaloosa, if we don't have a conversation nationwide about what education looks like, if we don't have that, then we're going to be late, last, and lost. And y'all know how I feel about that, right? And so I wanted to have a conversation with some of the school system people, the education people, the people that make the decisions on, all of the policy and all of the financial and the economic decisions of our school system here in Tuscaloosa. What does that look like? What is that what is that? You give money, because I hear you. I understand. I pastor people every day, and I have conversations. We give this money. We let our ad valorem tax go increase, right? What do we get out of it? And that's a fair question. That is a fair question. And it is the responsibility of all of those who will partner with us and collaborate with us as parents and and who trust them with our children every day. Because in a school system, the most important resources are the children. Let me say that. The most important resource in a school system are the children. And we need to have answers in 2024, especially all of the elections going on and all of this. And we see how, one side says they're going to dismantle this and dismantle that, dismantle this for political reasons, because there is no educational reasons for which they're doing it, right? They still believing in this whole quote unquote deep state. Nonetheless, deep state function against them in particular, right? And so we've got to begin to ask the hard and difficult questions. Brother Jay just said that. Yeah, we've got to begin to ask the pointed question. And as a former educator in the Duval County school system in the state of Florida, I saw firsthand what happens when, one, schools get the resources that they need for the children, and two, I've also seen how even within a school, the resources are interestingly parsed between one sector of students, which they call magnet students, and other sectors of students, right, that are mainstreamed or normal students, or what we would call, not in the gifted or talented programs. And so we have a difficult decisions to make as a city, as a county, even as a state, that I'm going to ask them about. In research, I was researching for this interview, and that Alabama, watch this, y'all, out of 50 states, Alabama is number 45 in the country in education. 45. And in all overall, with that means health, that means job opportunity, that means fiscal responsibility, that means education, all of those, we are 44th, right? Now, it ain't but 50 states. Let me say this again. It ain't but 50 states, right? And territories, right? But 50 states that we understand. 49 that are contiguous, which are, and then those who, then Alaska and Hawaii, that makes up the 50 states, right? And that's a number. Now, let me just say that's a number. That is a number. That means that Alabama, we have some work to do, right? And, our governor has to be called to the carpet, because 45 should not be good for anybody unless it is purposeful that you want our children not to be educated. You want an uneducated populace. That is the only reason why we would be satisfied with a ranking of number 45 out of 50 when it comes to education. And that's very, very important. Those numbers mean something. People lie, but numbers don't. And so that is real, right? And so, yeah, we need to ask the question that, even in Tuscaloosa in terms of the best school districts in Alabama is number 80 out of 138. So, yeah, we've got to ask, and so there are 58 that are worse or that are not performing on the level of Tuscaloosa. And we've got to ask those questions. Why? And why do we have to ask that? Now, L. Bishop, you trying to stir up stuff. Well, yeah, I really am. I am. That's kind of what I told you I do every day. It doesn't matter, because the question is, how does, is this a direct correlation to the financial investment? I think that's very important. is it in correlation to that? Because if we're not investing enough in education, right, then if that be the case, then what are the solutions? Let's say that the ad valorem tax is increased. What's the solutions? And I am excited to have that conversation today. What are the solutions that are pending? What are the solutions that are on the docket? What increased teachers? Not just increase, but better teachers. How are we going to recruit? How does that increase in funding allow our schools and our instructional material and our technological STEM material and apparatus and all of the things that we need? How does that increase? How do you plan to do that, right? And what we cannot take for granted is that when you're asking people to invest their money, then you have to have communicative answers, clear answers, for them. Because you know how we are. We don't play about our money. That's facts, right? Right? We'll get we'll stand in the grocery store, and if the chicken is $4.50 and there's another pack under it $4.30, which one we going with? You know we're going with $4.30, right? And so because we're trying to save that kind of money, and so yes, I think it is. I want to applaud some of the members of the Board of Education for coming on my show because I think it is important. I think it is important, Culture Call. You know, when we look nationwide, we are in an interesting place. We are in, a converging system of governance. And that converging system of governance, what does that mean? Glad that you asked. Here's what it means. It means that one side, and I'm just going to be very clear, but one side is running away from indictments. And they have skillfully, got millions of people to follow them because they're playing victimhood. But it's just to avoid, all of the legalities. They really could care less about education. And you can tell by how they talk. You can tell by how they express themselves, how they communicate, their language, you can tell that. I mean, for real, you can tell that we have in this country for the last almost 12 years, 10, even probably more than that, 12, 15, 14 years, allowed someone that has no public service other than being a quasi businessman. And then when you look at, the reality of all of the businesses that they've driven in the ground, bankrupted, right? When you look at that, and all of the people who across the country he has not paid, and you're going to put him in charge of the wealthiest economy in the world, that makes no sense. And we've got to start calling a thing a thing. And for, one of the things is when I've got to start playing politics, then, it's time for me to get off the air because that's not what I'm going to do. Let's just talk what's facts, not what is feelings. That's the thing. Not what is feelings. You know what I'm saying? Because all of us feel a certain way about our ideological approach to the country, to our state, to our city, to the world, to our own lives. But at some given point, as Ted Koppels told Sean Hannity on his show, on Hannity Live, he said, listen, that you make money off of making people believe. This is what Ted said to Sean. He said, you make money off of making people believe that their ideology is stronger than the facts of the matter. And that is dangerous for a populace, right? When I can make you believe that fiction is real and how you feel and perhaps what you've been taught, right? Then you only see the world from your perspective and your ideology. Yeah, but just because that's the way you see it does not mean that it's truth. It does not mean that it is fact, right? And so we have that on one side, and then we have a diversity of and there's difficulty in diversity because people, all bring their ideology. They bring their perspective. They bring how they want this, how they think the world should be, right? But one of the things that align is that they're not subjugating people to the corner, to the darkness, right? They're not threatening people with prison because you don't like me. They're not threatening people with getting kicked out of the country because they're the poison and the blood of the United States. No, That's not the poison. The poison started in 1619, and it's called racism. That's what it's called. That's what has poisoned the blood in this country, period. Right? And there are not enough people that will literally tell the truth about where we are. And so what we're seeing now is that we're trying to make people, promote people on one side who are rich, who have money, who are not investing. They just got money. And people believe that, black folks too, you believe that because somebody got money that they're smart. No. First thing you need to ask is when somebody's got money, you need to first ask, did they take advantage of anybody, or did they inherit this? And if they did inherit this, where did this money come from? Right? That there's a difference than someone, building a business, a self-owned business in their garage, blah, 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 and now they're a millionaire. There's someone whose parents left them money because of running a prostitution house or a drug ring or a drug cartel. That's two different things, right? And those are the main questions we have to ask in this season. That what are we doing to empower ourselves? How are we willing to get to the future? How are we willing to get there? How are we willing to look ourselves in the mirror? How are we willing to do that? And I believe like Attorney Benjamin Crump does. He says there are three things that create a community, and that's the economy, that's education, and that's empowerment. The whole idea of and that encompasses the political, the religious structure, the civic and the social structure, the expectations of how our children will be prepared for the future, right? And if we don't have those significant conversations while we can, right, that there is a generation that's falling in love with money. They're falling in love with money. And the text is right. I still believe it, that the love of money is the root of all evil, because when you have a love for something, the whole objective is there's nothing I won't do for it, right? There's nothing that I won't do on its behalf. And we don't understand that the stakes are high, right? That there are people that really, really, really are not invested in making our community any better. And those people oftentimes look like us because of their ideological approach. Now, I study this every day. One of the things that I study, and I'm reading this whole idea, this whole book about this whole contingency of reparations and education and religion. And one of the things that you have to understand is that when you're dealing with a system or an institution that looks at one portion of its populace as inferior, inferior as they perceive to be designated by God, which is absolutely patently false from the scripture, from that point, right? When you're looking at a part of the population that only believe that their city or their state ought to produce workers and laborers. When you're not, and when I say that, I'm talking about factory workers and manufacturing and those kinds of things, but not in tech jobs, not in business related jobs, not in, those things that are professorships with universities and things like that. But they believe that let's just educate them to get out of high school and work in the factory, right? When you have that kind of institutionalization and that kind of leadership that props it up, then we need to begin to ask, what are we doing? Now, again, there is nothing less honorable by working in a manufacturing job. We need that in the country. We need that in our state. But here is the deal. That has to be your decision. That has to be our decision. And if you want to work in that kind of job, on that kind of playing field, then that's perfectly fine. But if not, okay then. Then, yeah, what else are we going to do? What? If you don't believe that I should be educated to the point that I can qualify to go to the MITs and the Harvards and the Morehouses and the Spelmans, if you don't think that I'm worth that education and that my education should only stop at a certain point, then we have to talk about how do you perceive me as a person, as a people, you know? And I think that is very important. That is very, very important. And so, you know, once we get to the place that we can have those conversations, you know, and because right now, Tuscaloosa city schools are in a place of investment, and there is nothing wrong with investment. Let me say that once again. There is nothing wrong with investment. You know, we're getting ready to build our new facility in terms of our church. And one of the things that the pastor is, I've had to ask people for investment. And the thing about when you ask people for investment, they expect quick results. And that's whether they're giving $1 or $1,000, you know, and a lot of times, that $1,000 are not the people that talk. It's the $1 folks, you know, that really want to call. But nonetheless, you know, it's not equal giving, it's equal sacrifice. And when you're asking people to invest in a thing, then it is our responsibility to make certain, that we're doing what we need to do to hold everybody accountable, right? Accountable. That's what we got to do. That's exactly what we have to do. And so, having said that, today we're going to be afforded an opportunity to have a conversation, to have some talking points that's going to make sure that we are at the top of our game with regards to what's being, you know, what is the plan for our children. Okay, I give you this money, but what is the plan? You see what I'm saying? I give you this, but what is the plan? You feel what I'm saying? What's the plan? And if you don't have a plan, yeah. If we don't have a plan, what are we talking about? What are we talking about here? So it's going to be a very interesting conversation. Listen, and I want you to, if you can't call on the phone, get the app. Download the app. Sharon, I tell you all that every morning. Download the app because I'm going to be checking my app for your questions, for your comments. It's very important. It's going to be a great show today. Don't you believe it? I know it. Listen, and I'm going to also today talk a little bit about, you know, the expectations for the debate on tomorrow between the presidential candidates, former President Trump versus current Vice President Harris. We're going to be talking about that today, a little bit about it, to just make you aware. If you have not, let me say this as a rejoinder of what I need you to do. If you've not registered to vote, October is the deadline here in the state of Alabama. But if you've not done that, why wait? Why put off what you can for tomorrow? What you can definitely do today. I want you to register to vote. That's what I want you to do. Register to vote. You got to do it, right? Because this is a significant part of what I know to be something so very, very valuable and fascinating in terms of what we have in line for this country. And if we don't participate as citizens, did y'all hear me? If we don't participate as citizens, then we're going to be in trouble. You feel me? We're going to be in trouble. So I want to make sure that we do that. And we do that with the understanding of making our city better, our state better, and our country better, and yes, even the world better. We have a responsibility. And we have to stand up to that. We've got to make sure that that happens. And if we don't do that, then guess what? It ain't nobody, how the old saints say, hey, it ain't nobody's fault but mine. Okay? So, hey, listen, I need you to keep it right here on the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith. Hey, on Praise 93.3 and 790 WTSK. We'll be right back. Great morning, great morning, great morning. You know what time it is. That's right. It's time for your favorite talk show. This is the world premiere. And we are back with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, right here on the Culture Call. Listen, your favorite talk show. Listen, we are having a great conversation this morning, and we're already talking about empowerment, community empowerment, and making sure that we are forward thinkers and that we are investing in the future. And so, yeah, I just want you to understand that that's what our conversation is today. And I'm super, super excited. I told you I had some guests coming on so that we could have, a conversation. I think it's very important that, communication is the key. Let me say it again. Communication is the key. And especially around investment, around money, and all that, all of the questions that I get on the daily from my members and from members of our community, from members of my church, people who we talk to. I think it is very important. And I told you, in this country, in our state, in our city, yes, we have to be about empowerment. And a part of that empowerment is education. How will we prepare our children for the future? And I'm super, super excited about that. Listen, I have with me today a board member, from education board member, and she is a concerned citizen and parent. Absolutely. And I have another member that's going to come to talk about what this economic investment is about, what they're asking us to do as citizens of Tuscaloosa City Schools. Why does it matter? And what part can you play? What I need you to do is keep an open mind. I need you to keep an open mind, because I understand the open mind precedes the open pocketbook, right? And so that's what we got to do. Today, I need you to hear what they're saying. And to, as I said in my first segment, abandon your ideology and your perspective, and I need you to hear the facts. Because once you hear the facts, it will cause you to have, again, open minds, and then you can make your decision on what you're going to do on September 24th. You can make your mind up what's going to happen. What is not acceptable is you not showing up. That is not acceptable in any stretch of the imagination. You've got to show up as we have this conversation for Empower. I've got Erica Grant here. Yes. And Jay, let me see, I can't see his last name. That's Jay Duke. I should have known that. Jay Duke here is going to be talking. Look, there you go, Jay. Thank you. He is the Chief School Financial Officer today. And so good morning to all of you this morning. How are you doing, Erica?
I am well. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. We always have a good time when we get together, and we got to be serious today because this is a serious matter. But this is my play friend, my play sister, and I'm so grateful. And how you doing, Jay? You doing great this morning?
I'm doing great. I'm just so grateful that you have us on here this morning.
Absolutely. 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 So let's just start off having this conversation. As a former teacher, Erica, I'll start with you. I know your passion, the things that have encouraged you to even run for the Board of Education here in Tuscaloosa City. And, when we talk about, and I want you to speak not just from a board member's perspective, but as a parent. Mm-hmm. All of your children have matriculated through the Tuscaloosa City school system. Yes. And but I told them in the first segment that our most important resource in education are the students. Right. Are the students, that if we don't really understand that, talk about that as a parent, what you come to understand, and really as you traveled, meeting different parents, and I've heard you speak, you don't speak as a politician, you speak as a concerned parent. And I think that is part of the attraction and the reason why, or your influence in this position. But talk to us about this whole idea of us understanding that the most important resource that we have in education, in our educational school system, are the students. Talk about that.
Yes. Again, thanks for having us this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I have how many minutes, because I have a lot to say, but I will just narrow it down. Without students, we don't have schools.
Right.
Okay. Without funding, it's hard to run a school.
Right.
And so to continue to educate our children to go in an innovative way, we could just basically have basic math, basic English, basic science. But we're living in a day that we need innovation to move forward for our students to not just graduate TCS and say, oh, I got my diploma, I don't know what I'm going to do. We have to have funds, to continue the innovative way. This is something that has been started since I've been on the board. I'm going into year 8. The upcoming election will be 3 terms if I win. Preferably I run unopposed. Right. But I'm there, and I have a big passion for the students and to see it move forward in an innovative way. And I keep saying innovative because without funding, with the basic funds that we'll get, from the state, thankful for that. Some of our local funds, the COVID was a hard time, but it was a great thing that happened for our school system. Not saying that our children can't learn, but to have the things that we need to see for our children to not just be, I'm trying to find a word, we just need to continue to move forward, and we have to have fun. This is basically And I'm gonna say this.
Go ahead.
Publicly.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here because I am sitting here as a board member, a citizen, and a parent.
Right.
And I'm very compassionate about all students, not just my grandbaby and my daughter that I took to school this morning.
Right.
And Dylan, I have had a child to graduate. I've had 3 children to graduate from Tuscaloosa City School.
Wow.
And I still have 2 children and a granddaughter in kindergarten.
Right.
So it's very important that we as a community understand if we want good education, we have to be able to pay our teachers. Nobody's going to work for free. Right. We love it. People love it, but the teachers are the nuts and bolts. So we have to continue to make sure we can continue to grow their pay. And if students are going through school and they want to be a teacher, you don't want to keep hearing teachers don't get paid no money, they don't do this.
Because that's exactly
and
what
so
they
that's
say.
what's being heard. So this board and our superintendent, as a board, speaking from a board member's perspective, we have come together, sitting at a table with the city council, and it came up that, a property tax increase could possibly help our school to continue to move forward, not just this year, next year, or the next 5 years or 10, but over the next 30 years. We have not had a property tax increase since 1986. Right. So we have these like minds together. We have this superintendent, all that has courage to say, hey, let's put this in place now. And for the next 30 years, at least 20 to 30 years, we are making an innovative step, innovative way, sacrifice.
Investment, right.
Investment, yes, for our future. My grandchildren, your grandchildren, their children, and not get stuck in a place or take steps back. Because without funding, if you don't have money to put gas in the car just not gonna run.
It's not gonna run. I mean, it's basic math. Give this mic, turn this mic to Jay, because I think this is a great place to put Jay. Yeah, you can move the mic. That's cool. And I think, Jay, this is a place where, because what concerns people is the economics, the finances. When you're asking them to literally give more money. Yeah, and that to people in the perspective of the economy. Some say it's good, some say it's bad, some don't even pay attention to it. Why is this investment? Because she just said something that triggered me. So we've not, if ad valorem taxes take care of education in the state or the city, and we've not had an ad valorem tax increase since 1986. First of all, okay, explain to the people how does that money how does the ad valorem increase translate? Because right now we're running off an educational budget that was funded in 1986, basically. Or am I getting that wrong?
No, that is correct. The rate has not been adjusted since 1986. And I'm going to use a word you used earlier. That
right.
We call it an investment.
Right.
And let me be specific on that. Let me say a few things this is not.
Right.
This would come directly to the Tuscaloosa City Schools.
Okay.
And so what it's not for roads, it's not for bridges.
Right.
It's not for any special interest. And it's going to three things, and all of those tie into the classroom. And that's programs for students, number one. Mm-hmm. Teacher retention and pay, number two. And then number three, security. So it all ties into the classroom.
Right.
And again, the rate has not been adjusted since 1986. And just a little bit about Tuscaloosa County and the funding mechanism, a few more things that it's not. This is not an income tax. It is not a sales tax. It is only an ad valorem tax, and what that means is property. Mm-hmm. So ad valorem is a Latin word for according to value. Mm-hmm. So if you own property, it's a tax on property. So if you don't own property, there is no tax.
Right.
So that's kind of some of the things that it is and isn't. And you used a word earlier that I'm going to steal two words from you. Number one, investment. Number two, empowerment.
Right.
So what this means is it gives us local control. We have a local board of education who's on the ground in 7 districts and a countywide chairman, and they know what their local schools need. Mm-hmm. And this gives us Tuscaloosa money for Tuscaloosa programs. Citywide chairman.
Right. And I think that's and Jay, I think what you just added, because I think that's a concern. Many people who talk to me like, well, Pastor, is this going to be money for roads? Is this going to be money for, developing UA? They're asking a myriad of questions. And so I think right there, you kind of just dispelled certain things, because all they thinking, oh man, I'm going to have to pay some money, income tax. That's not what it is. Look it up. Ad valorem is just the value of the thing, of your home. Real estate, what is that? Boats, cars, right. In terms of getting that money, and that money is going directly to the school system, correct?
That is correct. And let me cite a document on October 3rd of last year. Mm-hmm. This board was brought a mechanism and need assessment by Citizen Advisory Task Force. Mm-hmm. They brought that to an open board meeting. Mm-hmm. We put a budget to that, and on October the 3rd of last year, an 8-0 vote by this board adopted that budget and resolution, and that is in writing and on record at the Tuscaloosa City School. That's public record. Mm-hmm. And again, it cites those, and I'm going to repeat it again because I think it's worth repeating. Mm-hmm. Teacher excellence, that means teacher pay. Right. Classroom is where the money's going.
Right.
Programs for teachers. Mm-hmm. And then security to firm up our buildings, our cameras, our overall security officers, an officer every day at every school. Right. And so that mechanism has already been set. When those collections come in, this board has adopted that resolution. The budget mechanism is set in our finance office. And so this thing's sitting on ready to go.
Absolutely. So either one of you can answer this question. Because I'm not a native Tuscaloosan. I'm from South Carolina. I taught in Florida, the Duval County school systems. And the first time that I really understood about Tuscaloosa education is the school that I taught was their school from university. They were trying a Montessori program there, and they came to the school that was the pilot, and I was teaching at that school. So that was the first time that I interacted with schools teachers from Tuscaloosa City. But what is the skepticism? And just plain English, plain language, what is the skepticism that people have about the Tuscaloosa City school system and where money is going? What is that about? Where did that begin?
Well, again, we only have a few minutes and not a few hours and years to talk about that. However, we go back, and I'm just being honest. Yeah. People, you have some people that are skeptical about voting and saying, I'm not going to vote for that because the money is only going in one area. Right. Okay. But this money is going across the board. Mm-hmm. And when I got on the board, I was a parent first, and I stood on the other side of the podium. And one thing I said when I did get on the board, and one reason I did run, is to be a voice for not just my children in my house, not just our African-American children, but for all children.
Correct. Right.
It don't matter background.
Right.
It don't matter race. You know, and so I would not sit on this board and allow anything to just be for the west side, the south side, or the north side.
Right.
It's got to, if it can't be for all, it can't be.
Right. But and, you know, that definitely, you know, you're saying it nicely. I have the liberty of kind of being a little bit more pointed. But that is the concern. That is a major concern that only the Northridge, only that side of town is getting it. You know, that, you know, those schools, Vestavia, Verna, not Vestavia, but Verna is getting it. But not the Martin Luther King or not West Side or, you know, all those kinds of things. And I was reading a report, because, you know, I'm going to do my homework, that when we look at test scores and when we look at, you know, how schools are doing, the schools on the West Side
are doing awesome. All of our schools, you have to think about it. Like, if something is wrong, you bring in, we have reading interventionists. You know, this money will help. We have so many things, innovative things that we haven't had in the past to help our schools continue to grow. But our schools across the board, west side, south side, east side, north, the northern cluster, all of them are thriving.
Right.
The barrier to me comes in when you get in the head of with the negativity. So for me, I stay away from the negativity. Okay. You know, and we try to encourage our principals not to hear the negativity.
But you know they are.
Yeah, they are.
Right.
And so, but then you have some that are just, you know, all of them are amazing. All 23 schools, that we try to tell them, stay positive and do what you need to do. Even with our educators, you know, stay positive and do what you need to do, and not to hear, because there's something that's stuck in Tuscaloosa. If anybody asks, when the schools got broke up, by the way, it is the Central High School homecoming this week, okay? Oh. I graduated from Central. But
whatever.
But I have children at Bryan.
Right.
But I have a Northridge shirt, I have a Bryan shirt, and I have a Central shirt. But that's not the mindset of all. When they broke the schools up, it really messed a lot up for Tuscaloosa City School mindset.
I get it.
Okay. And the unity piece. But we're not here to talk about that. But that's a major part.
But I mean, no, we are. And I have a minute left in this half, but I just need y'all to stay with me, because I want to ask some of those questions. I really want to ask, you know, Jay, you know, in terms of where this went, in terms of what you're saying. Because people do have that mindset that money is going to this and that, you know, especially when you're trying, you know, you're talking about, and they're seeing on the street. And this basically, why are businesses against this? Why are businesses against? Don't answer yet. Because everywhere I go, they're releasing. I see it on my way to church. I see it when I'm driving around the city. Vote no on the ad valorem tax increase. And I'm like, why don't you answer that question? Because I know. Just I know. After this commercial, we're going to definitely take that question, because I need to know, why are not businesses? Would not businesses be, you know, would not businesses be our first recipient of an educated populace, of our children being better educated? Why are businesses so against that? We're going to answer that question in our next part. I'm going to keep them here just a little while longer. Yeah, we're going to answer all those great and wonderful questions right back when we come back. Don't y'all go anywhere. This is the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith.
This is the world premiere.
And we are back right here on the Culture Call. I'm telling you, we're going to have a great day today. It's the top of the hour, 11 a.m. and some change. And guess what? we are still here with the members of the board, and I am grateful that they stayed a little bit longer. I got a few more questions that I want to ask, and so I hope y'all are locked in. Listen, we've been having a wonderful conversation as it relates to, what we are getting ready to vote on in September 24th. And again, I am going to encourage each and every one of you all to show up. You've got to show up to the to vote for this increase. Or listen, you don't have to vote for it increase. I'm not telling you what to vote for, but you got to show up. That's the first part, right? But yeah, we've been having some great conversation, and they've been opening up my eyes and elucidating me to a lot of facts that I don't think that we know. And so, one of the questions that I asked during our break, or even before our break, was this whole issue of, Ms. Grant didn't want to say it, but we are very skeptical in our community about where that money goes. I mean, that's just facts. Because in our mindset, we believe that it's going to one sector of town. And I think you did a great job. You were rushing a little bit and just trying to kind of move beyond it. But the truth of the matter is, we've got to move beyond that skepticism of, we know the history of Alabama. We know the history of Tuscaloosa. We know the history, I remember when I started dating my wife and my father-in-law, who was a pastor in the city. I remember him talking about the splitting of the schools and all that. I remember that early in the 90s and all that. So, see, all right. I was in college, but I understand the conversations that we would have. But Erica, talk to us about how can we become a unified school system? Because I think a unified in terms of how we operate and what we would do best for the children, how we can move that skepticism. Because I know you're a parent, you're a native Tuscaloosan. How can we bridge that gap? Because I think that's key and critical to the conversation of this whole idea of investment and empowerment. How can we do that? How can we heal the hurt or the harm? If you can answer that really quickly.
I think parents.
Yeah.
I think, when children sit in the house and they hear parents, talk against, if we could some type of way as a school system try to bring our parents in so they will understand that we are for all and we do need to come back together. And, you're going to do what you want to do in your home, but children react how sometimes what they get from their parents. Mm-hmm. The question that when you was going off, you was asking us basically about the opposition that we have. Mm-hmm. That's not showing unity in our community. Yeah. Okay. So, but I'm not focused on the opposition. Sure. We have opposition in life. What do you do with opposition? You move forward the best way you know how, and you focus on the prize. The prize is educating our students. Mm-hmm. For me, in a very innovative way, making sure they are secure with the security, the police officers being in the school each and every day, every school, mm-hmm. And making sure our teachers are paid fairly. That's my focus. So if all of us can get on the same page about the focus, regardless of what side of town you come from, mm-hmm. I think that can be a unity. Also, we can work harder from the top of, hey, you all, let's have a big unity day. Mm-hmm. Let's everybody come together, because once children come together and mesh, parents will come together. If Paisley say she going to play with Susanna, mm-hmm. or is she going to play with Kim, mm-hmm. or is she going to play with David? Mm-hmm. It don't matter. If she want to go play with them, we're going to have that opportunity to go play, and then I'm going to meet mama and daddy, or I'm going to meet mom, or meet dad, and we can all come together. I know that sounds like, oh, that's so typical, but this for real. So mm-hmm. we already have to go against each other in football, in so many different other things, which breaks us apart. When the schools got
school pride.
Apart.
Everybody has school pride.
Right. Because I'm like, this week I'm all for
Central. Okay, we heard it already.
And so last week you had a Central and a Bryant game. Right. I wasn't able to attend because I was still at work, but Tan, a mama, a diehard Central parent apart, I got to go sit with Brian because my children go, we laugh about that, but it's so, that happens. That makes it hard for our school system with all the negativity to be one. You probably can go out of town and people don't deal with it.
Right.
But Tuscaloosa is small. I don't care how big we think we are.
Yeah.
It's a small town. A lot of people know everybody. And I just wish we could, talk to our, some type of way, set aside the differences that I don't even know exist. But from the past, those people are not on this board that made that decision. The superintendent is not here, and get past the negative point.
I think that's important. That we had school rivalry when I was growing up, and it is what it is.
But it was across to the county from us. It
right.
was Tuscaloosa City. It was Central versus Tuscaloosa
County. We didn't have that.
Right.
We didn't have that. I went to a rural school, so no, we didn't have that. It was countywide, right? Those kinds of things like that. But I still think you bring out a good point that there is there needs to be a positive opportunity for us to be able to understand that this is a school system that so desires to be unified, and that a part of the animus that most people have and the angst that they may have sometimes doesn't even come from people who have children in the school. It's some old situations,
right.
It could be historical situations. And that's what I'm a student of history, because history does kind of tell us exactly not what will happen, but what has happened, that we can start from a platform of conversation. Yes, we're not ignoring that these things may have happened in the past,
right.
But what are we going to do better for our children? And you've got to intentionally, block out the negativity. Absolutely. Now, Jay, let me ask you this question, because this is important. That's right. What is up with the businesses? Because as I ride around town in my car, I see businesses like vote no on this tax, and it would seem to me, as an educated man, it would seem to me that businesses would be the main proponent of investment into our children, like they invest in whatever they're investing in, that businesses would have that mind. Could you kind of, as the money man, if I can say that, could you explain that to the listeners, why they may be also seeing that as well? Because they're going to the corner store, they're going to get the gas station, they get their gas from, and they're like, vote no. So, when they have that messaging, that kind of inculcates people's minds to vote no.
Well, I think to kind of use that word investment again, I think that investment is a cost. And that costs people something. And so when you start talking about somebody's pocketbook, that generates that sentiment, unfortunately, sometimes.
Right.
But I do think, what we got to remember, too, is we've got a growing city. And fact is, we've got 3 high school feeder patterns. We used to have 1, but that's now over 20 years ago. So we got to focus on the future and lay the groundwork. This is about kids that have never even set foot in a school yet. So
right.
This is about setting the table for 30 years from now. And I'm like Miss Grant. I don't want to focus on the negativity. Let's talk about the future. Let's talk about kids. This is going to be, it's been 38 years, so this would be a 30-year tax. We've got to set the future, lay the groundwork for a growing city. One statistic you might be interested in, we've grown 490 students since about 2018.
Wow.
So that's the size of about a 4A high school, think Hale County High School. And so, and this city is continuing to grow just right around town. I mean, there's developments coming, 2 off of Old Colony Road. There's a development coming close to Southview Elementary School in the Bryant High School District. And this city's going to continue to grow. We've just got to be ready for it.
Right. And to business owners, I think it's imperative that you understand, that with growth comes investment, and as business people, you understand that. I think that the bottom line is that what I'm being taxed on, the real estate, I'm being taxed on this, I'm being taxed on, and I don't like it. I mean, let's call a thing a thing. Let's call it what it is. And I get it if from a business person, you want to keep as much money as you can and keep it for your pockets, your own expansions, etc. However, there has to be something that business owners give back to the city, and not just in terms of income tax, but also in terms of it's the priorities of the city: education, programming, not just to the UA, but to all of the schools that feed the UA, all of the schools that feed, Shelton and other universities and colleges, Stillman College. We have to make that investment as well. And I'm not a business owner. I'm not, but it just, to me, commonsensically, it just means that if you are taking up space and the constituents in your community are buying gas or buying something from the property in their community, then it seems to me that you ought to invest in that community. And that doesn't mean that you shell out $1,000 and just give to the park or but that also means that you have a responsibility. I don't think we use that word because we do need to add that word, Jay and Erica, to the whole conversation. Responsibility for empowerment and investment that goes further than, my kid's gonna come to your store after school and buy a Snickers, and Snickers are going up. Right. I used to pay 25 cents for a Snickers. What? I'm buying a Snickers now. She's like $1.75, $2 for a Snicker bar. Right. They didn't put no different chocolate. Ain't no more nuts. Ain't no more nougat. Ain't no more caramel. And ain't even longer. Right. You've added. So you see the price of the product going.
Right.
So that means but I got to pay more for it. I get all of that, but there seems to be there has to be a responsibility and an obligation to work within all parts, not just the chamber, but also the school systems to invest in that area. And I think when we don't do that, and then here's the part, y'all, and y'all speak to this. I know you stand away from negativity, but you probably hear it more than me. Don't complain about, it's hard to complain about what the school is not doing. If Jay's number is correct, off of a 38 year investment in Tuscaloosa schools. Right. How are y'all making it year by year fiscally? How is this? How are you able to do what you're doing? And is that lack of financial investment or the level of financial investment affecting it in any way?
Well, I'm gonna let him answer that. But before I do, I have two things. Yeah, and I don't want to forget.
Right.
One thing I want to make sure we highlight on this interview is our audit for the Tuscaloosa City Schools.
Okay, let's talk about that.
The audit, so people are wondering where are we spending money, and I've heard that we have mismanaged money. But if you mismanage money, that means you're going to have an audit list longer than 15th Street.
Right.
So I would like for Mr. Duke to tell you about our audit if we are mismanaged.
Let's talk about the audit. What's going on with the audit?
So yes, we've had two clean audits the last 2 years.
Wow.
And but let me expand on that. So that's from the State Examiners of Public Accounts, and that's public record. That's online. Just Google State Examiners of Public Accounts, and you can find our audits online. And then also each month I report out to this 8-member board. Again, 7 districts, 1 citywide elected chairman, and I report out each month. Our finance team does on where the money's going. So we have that layer. The CSFO, which is my position, reporting to the school board, and the superintendent on a daily and weekly basis. We work with the superintendent from my office to make sure that those financial statements are public record. And I would like to say public record again because our financial statements are online.
That means anybody can go look at it.
Anybody can go look at it. And you've got my number and email address, and we've had people visit. Got some more coming this week to sit down and actually look at that. And I can email you a copy of almost anything you want to look at. I can't send you personnel records or payroll records, but our information is public.
Sure.
And so we have several layers of accountability. We are very transparent and have been and will continue to be.
Wow. Okay. So, did y'all hear that? So if you want to know how the money is being spent, if you want to know what their audit, grading in their audit grade is, go ahead. It's online. You can literally, it's public record. They can't hide it. But they can change the numbers. Come on, we're not going to do that today. Because that doesn't serve anybody, right?
Right.
I kind of want you all to speak in an expansive context now with this question. Alabama is ranked 45th. The state of Alabama is 45th in a 50-state country in education. What can be done to get that, to raise us up? What is going, and I know, Alec, you're only responsible for Tuscaloosa City. You're not responsible for Tuscaloosa County. You're not, what can we do as a state in your perspective, if you all can? Because I understand, but what can we do to get those numbers up? I think it needs to be heard by the people who are listening, what we can do as, from constituency, from the policy people, from administrators, principals, children, students, whatever. What can we do to get that number? Because 45 means that we bet in only 5 states. And to me, as an educator, that's not good enough. So what can we do?
I think we have started along that path. The growth has been evident here the last few years, and that's with a lot of strategic, focused, purposeful investment in interventionists. Think reading and math interventionists, where they can. Let's say a kid's struggling, that we can pull out and give one-on-one attention to that kid, which then frees up that teacher with the rest of the classroom, 19, 20, 21 kids, to continue along the path that those kids are on that level. And we do that across this city, across all 3 feeder patterns, and we push each and every child. And again, there's some strategic investment that's been involved with that, and we were able to get some dollars during COVID, some federal dollars to kind of push that. And those numbers have come out recently, and Ms. Grant's seen those numbers as well, where it's starting to show off. Our numbers are trending upwards, specifically at several schools. Right. And so I think that course has already started an upward trajectory. And I think it's going to take a continued investment, though. I think one word I have yet to use today, which I've got to lay it out there, is inflation. Yeah. We've had slight increases in property tax, around 3-4%, but inflation's been 7-8, at sometimes 9%. Right. We're just simply, the expenditures are outpacing the revenues.
Right. And I mean, and that is a reality. And I think I just talked about the Snicker bar. I'm not fussing at that person, that business owner, for having to charge. I used to pay, 75-cent max when I was a child. Now it's $2 to get a Snicker bar. That's inflation, and a lot of that is not profit. M&M Mars are, their distribution companies are charging these mom and pop stores and all of this, the convenience stores, this X amount of money to purchase their product. And so I'm not mad at that, but that is the reality, that inflation, simply put, means that, the cost of things will inflate, right? And so, we cannot continue to expect that, cost of living increases, because school systems have to think about that for their instructors, for their teachers, for their administrators. If a house goes up, 4 and 5 times, and we're only paying somebody down at the base level that we paid them in 1986, that's ridiculous. And it just doesn't add up. And so I think that's interesting. And then, of course, it says Tuscaloosa is number 80 in the best school districts in Alabama out of 138, right? So you got 138 school districts, and Tuscaloosa is number 80. And what you're talking about today is causing Tuscaloosa to rise up those ranks in terms of that investment. Yeah.
One thing along those lines I'd like to say, this board, and I don't know if Ms. Grant will say it, but this board has said, what they have not said is, we just want to be average. So This is about being more than average, more than just being stagnant, more than being stuck in time. Let's move forward. And I commend this board for stepping out there. Again, all 8 board members voted to do this across all the districts in the city, and to see the board unify just shows what their commitment is to this city.
And I think Jay, you bring up a salient point, a great point, because again, that there was no opposition. That was unanimous. That all 8 board members across the district said, "Hey, we need X, Y, Z. We need this investment," and that speaks of of a unity that speak to what you were saying, Erica. That's the beginning. That's the genesis of it. Go ahead, darling.
And climbing the ranks in the state and making our school system more desirable is not. We education is number one, but to get the education, people look for, do they have mental health in the school system?
Right.
Do they have nurses in the school system?
Right.
Do they have good facilities? I know, we touched on people don't want to spend money on the roads, but why would we want our school bus to go over raggedy roads if it was going to that? People want nice
things.
And so to continue to grow our city at large, our school system has to be set to a certain standard. Businesses have to be set to a certain standard for people to want to come to Tuscaloosa and put their children in school. It's like a domino effect. As a business owner, I own commercial property, and so I'm speaking as a business owner, I will be voting yes, and I don't mind working a little harder to pay my property taxes to be a part of the community that's helping our school system to move forward. And thinking down the line, it seems tough to continue to climb up the ranks. When you said those numbers, it seems tough to let's put Tuscaloosa up here. We love Alabama football. We are thankful to have that in our city. But what else are we going to say we have in our city to make people move to Tuscaloosa?
Right.
I have people travel to come get their hair done, to come travel to my store. I want that for all business. Not all business that's against it. We have some great small businesses, that are willing to, I'm voting yes,
And
so, to all the small business owners, we appreciate that. And to understand that mindset of growing our entire city and thinking about the things in the school system before you can even get the education. If you got a child with a mental issue, Tuscaloosa City Schools has people in place. We have social workers.
Right.
More social workers now than we have had in a long time. We have nurses. Dr. Daria told us an instance at that meeting about having children that usually had to stay at home, but because we have nurses,
they can be mainstream.
Now, now they're in the classroom, right? And so those are the things that need to be put out that Tuscaloosa City school system is doing, and not just the negative part.
I agree.
And how we can continue to grow that, and people be like, "Oh, I'm moving to Tuscaloosa because I want this school system off the chain,"
because that matters.
Because it matters.
Y'all, I got one more question, and we talked about it, and Jay, I was like, I got to get this in. Why are parents seemingly moving their kids from out of public school systems to private schools or home schools? What is that about? What do you believe?
That's hard for me to say. Both of my kids graduated from Northridge High School, so we're not against private schools. We're not against church schools. We're not against home schools. We want to focus on us. We want to be the best. And I was talking about the board members and commending them earlier, but it's not even really about the board. It's not about the current superintendent. It's not about any particular teacher, any particular school. This is about the future, and this is about kids that have not come into a school yet, that are 3 years old or haven't been born yet. So, so we want to be the best. We don't want to be average. We don't want an average school. So we're in a championship city. We're the city of champions, title town. As I could say to my Auburn friends. So, and we want our school system to be a title town school also.
Absolutely.
Well, he has commended this board a lot, and so we commend him because I do not understand his job.
I don't think most people do.
Oh my God! So we thank Mr. J. Duke because he is, and along with his teams, the reason why we don't have any audits. Some schools have a zillion audits. They have mismanaged money. And I, listen to them, and pray they get together. But we do have that together, and it's public. The other thing I would like to say on that question that you asked, we're having a great CSFO that's managing money. Some people want to take their children out because they just don't like order.
Right.
And they want to do what they want to do. And they want to manage their money. And so I went around the corner just to say that.
You did.
And guess what?
And that's cool. I know.
It is what it is.
This is a fact show. This is a truth show. I understood. I didn't know the financial aspect of it. But in my research, I'm seeing a lot of attacks on public school systems, not just in Alabama, but countrywide.
And some parents feel like they can do it best for their children, and that's okay if that's what they feel.
Okay.
Me personally,
my wife's and are master's degree educators. Okay. Send those kids to school. My kids graduated from the twins graduated from Northridge. And they went on, let me say this, they went on to Spelman and Morehouse and then Wake Forest and NYU and got masters. Right. My baby son went to Florida A&M, went to Tuscaloosa Academy. Yeah. And he went to FAMU and graduated there. And, the public school system is a good system.
And we have awesome educators. How dare we, make our educators feel any less than because we don't feel like it's good. Who decides if it's a good teacher or a bad teacher? They are human. They have bad days. They have good days. Yeah. So, but they have went to school and they are coming into a school building every day behind our children to educate our children, deal with some children that have discipline problems, deal with some children that have mental issues. They are the champions, the educators.
Wow.
And it's very important that we understand they are in the nuts and bolts. I sit on the board. He is the CSFO, and you're here, and you're a pastor. We can imagine what an educator go through every single day.
It's hard.
Right.
It is hard. Listen, it is hard.
And they do deserve more pay.
Way
but we
more.
cannot say, the teacher need to get paid more money. If we are trying, it's not going to happen. Nothing happens overnight. But this is a step to ensure. Can you just, before we leave, tell us with this tax referendum, if it's passed, the impact for the educators?
Right, in 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Sure. First of all, this tax wouldn't go into effect until next year.
Okay.
So we're planning ahead.
Okay.
This board's been planning ahead for 2 or 3 years now.
Okay.
But this would go into effect next school year and immediately impact teachers.
Wow.
And so we would focus on retaining the teachers that we've got, and that's so important is to retain good teachers and pay them more than what they're being paid today, and then set the groundwork for the future. And that's where the bulk of the tax, that if this passes, that's where it would go, would be, again, teacher and employee pay in the classrooms, programs, and security.
My goodness, Jay, I'm going to leave it at that. Y'all, we have had a wonderful conversation with Miss Erica Grant, board member, and Mr. Jay Duke, who is the CFO of the Tuscaloosa City Schools. I'm telling you, I appreciate you all. Listen, folks, they love our children. We need to love our children. Listen, do your research. Do your research. Stop listening to folks that's really not into it. Go and research. It's on the line, and it will tell you everything that you need to know. Listen, I appreciate you all for coming out this morning, that being on the Culture Call. I am sure that our listeners are much better because you came, and we wish you much, much success in this school year and in the coming school years and all that you plan. Absolutely. Listen, let me say this, y'all. We got to take a break, but I'll be right back right here on the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, Praise 93.3, 790 WTSK.
This is the world premiere.
And we are back right here on the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, Praise 93.3. And listen, we have had a wonderful, wonderful segment with Miss Erica Grant and Mr. Jay Duke from the City School Board. Yeah. And the CFO. And I want to encourage you that if there's any more information that you might need that is pertinent to your decision making with regards to the ad valorem taxes, I don't want you just to think money and think more cost. I need you to think investment. And you do the research yourself. I'm big on that. Before, people say, well, even in the current election, they tell me, well, you just vote for her because she's black. No, because I didn't vote for Tim Scott. He black. I mean, I did my research on Barack Obama. You know what I'm saying? Just because people are my color or my race, so far as the social construct has designated them, doesn't mean that they automatically get my vote. Well, and that could also be why people vote for white folks. While they're voting for Trump, because it cannot be. Well, let me just leave that alone. But nonetheless, you get what I'm saying, right? Some people are just voting their color, but that's not why we're doing that, right? So I think that's very important. And so I really appreciate them coming on. I do my research, and I told them that I'm going to be looking at those numbers from the audit because I want to make sure, keep them honest. That's what we do. And there's a lot of chatter. I again, in my day work as pastor and my night work as pastor as well, I have to speak to the constituents, and a lot of my constituents have children that are in the city school system. I personally don't have any more children, but yeah, I believe in investment. I believe in empowerment. I think we all need to do our homework. And if it, sometimes if it's not advantageous for you, first of all, you got to make sure you're paying taxes, paying ad valorem tax. That would apply to you because a lot of people it does not apply to, right? But if you do, if it does, and you want to make that investment, then you know what to do. And if you don't want to make that investment, you also know what to do. But what you need to do definitely is show up, right? Because if you don't show up, you're allowing somebody to choose for you. And it may not go the way that you want it to go, right? Speaking of September 24th, I want to remind you that we have a big federal election in November 5th. And we need to go ahead and get ready and prepared. Make sure that your voter registration is on file and is correct, right? We want to make sure that is done. We don't want any trouble crossing the river. Don't take for granted because there are some interesting things that are happening in this particular political climate. Folks are being dropped off. There's a voter suppression, all of that going on. And to say that is not what you would be, you'd be blinded from reality, and that's just real talk. And so we definitely need to do that. Listen. Finally, not finally, but I also want to add the Beulah Baptist Church. This is very important. They're getting ready to have their annual prostate cancer awareness seminar, right, with Dr. John Duffy, MD. He's a urologist from the Tuscaloosa Urology Center. I cannot stress enough for men, and the women that love your men. Please, sir, go and have that prostate exam, right? It's not as intrusive as it used to be. It used to be intrusive. Now it begins with the blood test that they can see certain proteins, your PSA in your blood and all of that. But, I'm really passionate about that because my father passed away from prostate cancer. And I can remember the days that we were trying to get him to go, especially as he got in his upper age. But his fear of doctors and, all of those kinds of things, a litany of things prevented him from going until it was too late. And, that's one of those deaths that I know medically. And the doctor said that he passed away too soon, right, because of prostate cancer. And so I really, really want to encourage you, ma'am, sir, to please go ahead and to do that. Make sure is that September, this Saturday at 9 a.m., Saturday, September 14th at 9 a.m. at the Beulah Baptist Church, 3100 25th Street, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Pastor David E. Gay Jr. If you need any more information, additional information, call Jerry Taylor at 205-886-7209. That's Jerry Taylor at 205-886-7209. Please, to all men who are at least 40 and above, go there and find out the information, right? It is always cheaper for preventative medicine than it is for corrective medicine. So please do your due diligence, brothers, and do what you got to do to make sure that your prostate, it's a small gland in your body. It's very important. And if they catch it early, it's a high survivability rate. But if they catch it too late, then it's going to be a kind of extreme kind of situation. So, let's make sure that we do what we got to do to take care of ourselves. Listen, I want to stress these words. Again, obligation, responsibility, empowerment, and investment. Know that all of those are futuristic words. None of us invest in empowering our past. We are looking forward, right? I want to make sure that I leave a good inheritance and a legacy to my children's children. The Bible supports that. And what we can't do, especially in the black community, is allow our skepticism and our cynicism to make us be absent from the places and the spaces that need our presence there to make valuable decisions. I get this as the younger generation. Why does voting matter? Why does this matter? Because you haven't read your history. History was supposed to empower us for the future. That our vote, our voice, our vision is bathed in the victimization and in the violence of our ancestors. And so we've got to make sure that we show up and do our part. Because guess what? We've got children that's coming along. I've got grandchildren. My children are active societally, culturally, politically, spiritually, church, they're in church, all of that. Right. That's a foundation that my wife and I set. And because I don't want to leave it to people who may not like black folks, who may not like white folks, who may not like Hispanic people, Latinx. They may not be, move in that aspect, right? And we need to have a voice in what goes on. And so we can't just sit on the sidelines and wring our hands and our fist and think that somebody's going to vote in our best interest. No, absolutely not. And so that's important. I was going to vote for Joe Biden, just like, I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris because they align. When I study the facts, when I study and look at the facts, not the ideology, because we as black and brown people cannot just be one issue voters. We cannot. We don't have that luxury. We've never had that luxury in this country to be one issue voters, right? Other people may be able to do that, but we do not. We don't make enough money for, crazy politicians and people who don't care about us if they get into office that it won't affect us. We don't make enough money to move to Africa or to move to Jamaica or to move our entire families and all of that to Canada. So we've got to start thinking about what is in our best interest across the board, right? And I'm going to be talking about that even more. I told you that, and I'm still resolved and resolute on that. And so even as we get ready to wind down, I see the runway for another broadcast. We got another commercial break getting ready to come up, but and before we leave, but I want you to think about what will be your place and your participation in the future. You have an obligation and a responsibility to empower and to invest in tomorrow. Absolutely. For our children, for our grandchildren, for our great-grandchildren. Yeah. We can't hold them a constant to what wasn't done for us. We've got to do better for them. Right? Listen, keep it right here. There's much, much more to come. I got some goodbyes I got to say. But yeah, I need you to keep it here on the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith. Praise 93.3, 790 WTSK.
This is the world premiere.
Well, my friends, we've had a wonderful day, don't you think? Yeah, we've had an amazing day here on the Culture Call. And I'm grateful again to Miss Erica Grant and Mr. Jay Duke from the Board of Education, City Board of Education. And I am grateful for them coming to share the information, because information is power. That's right. You cannot just go off of how you feel. I wanted to make sure that we're able to have a conversation of the facts. Now, you can do more research like I do every day. I want to make sure that you keep them honest. The only way you can do that is you find out for yourself exactly if they're saying what they're saying, is it truth or not, right? Absolutely. Listen, want to also encourage the men, Beulah Baptist Church, Pastor David Gay, go there this week and at 9 a.m. for their prostate cancer awareness, clinic there. You need to do that. Please, ma'am. Encourage your husband, your father, your uncle, all of you. Sir, do what you got to do to take care of your life. You only get one. You only get one time around. And so you got to make sure you do what you do to take care of yourself. Okay, guys? Good deal. Listen, my grandmama and my mama always said at the end of every phone call, I love you a bushel, I love you a peck. And I love you. A hug around the neck. This has been the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, right here on Praise 93.3, 790 WTSK. I want you all to be good, be sweet, be kind, love each other intentionally. Tell everybody you can that you care about them. Take time to listen and be at peace with everyone. Don't start nothing, won't be anything. And have a great day until we meet back here again, 10 a.m. in the morning, all the way to 12 on the Culture Call. Y'all have a blessed day.